The words were still hanging in the air when I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was perfect. My father sat across from me, hands folded like he was offering a prayer instead of a demand. My brother stood behind him, quiet, eyes already measuring the rooms that weren't his. The house felt smaller then, like it knew what they were trying to do. Just sign it over, my dad said. Calm, reasonable, surgical. He needs it more than you. I remember nodding. I remember smiling. I remember saying, "Let me think about it." They thought that was hesitation. It wasn't. This house wasn't just walls and a deed. It was the only thing I ever built without their help. After the divorce, when everyone chose sides and I was left with silence, this place was proof that I survived. Every nail was mine. Every payment came from nights I didn't sleep and mornings I didn't complain about. My brother never visited when I was rebuilding my life. My father never asked how I was affording it. But the moment the house became valuable, suddenly it was family. That's how betrayal works. It doesn't scream. It explains itself politely. I started noticing the pattern months before that conversation. My brother asking casual questions. "So, the house is fully in your name, right?" My dad mentioning inheritance over dinner, like an afterthought. Everything should stay balanced between siblings. Balanced. That word always shows up when someone wants what you earned. I didn't confront them. I observed. I watched how my father stopped calling unless my brother was with him. I watched how my brother talked about the house like a future certainty, not a possibility. I watched them rehearse my compliance before they ever asked for it. The betrayal wasn't emotional, it was logistical, and that made it worse. The night after that meeting, I didn't sleep. Not because I was angry, because I was planning. I went through every document, every clause, every signature. I called a lawyer before sunrise, not to ask if I could protect myself, but how thoroughly. I learned things my father assumed I never would. I discovered leverage they didn't know existed. The house wasn't just in my name, it was untouchable unless I allowed it. And that's when I understood something that changed everything. They were counting on my guilt. So I removed it from the equation. The next day, while they were still congratulating themselves for how reasonable I'd been, I changed the locks. All of them. Front door, back door, garage, even the shed my brother once joked he'd turn into an office one day. I installed cameras, not hidden, visible. I wanted the message to be clear. Then I ordered the sign. No trespassing, private property. I didn't put it up out of spite, I put it up out of precision. When my phone started ringing, I didn't answer. Missed calls stack differently when you're no longer afraid of them. My father left a voicemail first, confused, controlled, already offended. Why would you do something so drastic without talking to us? My brother followed, no voicemail, just anger pounding against silence. They still thought this was a misunderstanding. I let them. The confrontation came 2 days later. They showed up together, of course. Family unity on demand. My father stood at the gate, reading the sign like it was written in a foreign language. My brother tried the handle before I could even speak. Locked. That sound did more than any argument ever could. I didn't open the door. I stood behind it and listened. "You're being emotional," my dad said through the wood. "This isn't like you." I smiled. He was right. This was me evolved. I spoke just loud enough. I thought about it. Silence. "And I decided," I continued, "that anyone who tries to take from me quietly doesn't get access to me loudly." My brother snapped first. He always does. Accusations, entitlement, that old confidence that things would eventually fall into his lap. I let him finish. Then I told them about the lawyer, the paperwork, the cameras, the restraining order I could file if this continued. I told them calmly, slowly, like explaining a process, not a punishment. That's when my father realized what had happened. He hadn't raised a daughter who would comply. He'd raised one who learned. They left without another word. Not because they understood, because there was nothing left to negotiate. I sat on the floor afterward, back against the door, and felt something unfamiliar settle in my chest. Relief. Not joy, not triumph. Freedom. Betrayal teaches you where the weak points are. Not in you, but in the people who thought you'd never see them clearly. My father still doesn't understand why I didn't just do the right thing. My brother still tells people I changed overnight. I didn't. I just stopped being convenient. And now, every time they pass that sign, every time they wonder why I laughed instead of argued, every time they replay that moment looking for the mistake, they find nothing, because the plan worked exactly as intended.